Hi, I'm the spirit of the Nintendo that you've left starving for a decade. Please save me. But I'm also Lee, the music reviewer. I'm here to do a little feature. It's gonna be fairly stripped back. There's not gonna be any visual flair to it. So if you just want to kind of like listen to this in the background like a podcast or that, feel free to. But what we're going to be talking about today, if you can get from the title, is listener fatigue. This isn't going to be like a dead deep dive into the general concept of listener fatigue. Deep Cuts Oliver did like a fantastic video on it about a year or so ago that kind of goes more into nitty gritty about it. And I'm just kind of really want to talk about my personal experience with it, the kind of effect it's had on me, the kind of like catalyst for it, how in some ways I managed to overcome it. In some ways I'm still struggling with it. If I ramble, I apologise. I'm doing this with like zero notes or that because I do want to come this off quite naturally. But listener fatigue is just this is that kind of feeling you get where you just feel overwhelmed, fatigued. Obviously, you just kind of feel worn out. And I think anyone who is seriously into any form of medium, but obviously if listener fatigue that is mainly music, does feel that way at some point. Some folk never really ever do. Maybe they have like a day where they're sort of like, oh, I'm not really like feeling it today. But there's been multiple times over the past few years where I just kind of feel like I'm at my wit's end. I'm just sort of kind of struggling to really overcome it. Let's talk about the ways that can come about. And I do think that if there was to be like some like serious research done into it, like with like kind of like quantitative like data for it, I do think this new age of streaming has had an impact on it. But I'm kind of not trying to be like a whole kind of like back in my day, we never got listeners fatigue, mainly because I didn't listen to stuff back at a certain time. I had CDs and that. I grew up with music, but even back then I knew that like I'd get kind of like tired of it here and there. But I do think it's sort of amplified now that like you've got an app on your phone or on your laptop that just has access to a plethora of music. And there are certain days where I wake up and I look at all the albums that I've got saved. Some of the albums are classic, some of the albums are contemporary releases that I really want to kind of like jump on and see if I'm on to like the next big thing. But I'm sat there looking at it for like a good 15 minutes going, what am I going to do? Like, where am I starting here? What kind of mood am I in? Am I in any sort of mood? Sometimes you can just be like in a general neutral mood that's ready to be moulded. Sometimes I've just got a hankering for something like with a bit more grit to it, so more experimental. Other times I'm just like, and especially recently, where I just kind of want to be more of a soothing mood and more kind of like relaxed, but something still engaging like jazz or something like that. So sometimes I think if you kind of know what you want all the time, then you might not get this feeling as much. But I think for myself, where I feel like I'm playing catch up in a lot of regards as well, because it's only been in the past sort of like year or two that I started using like sites and forums like Rate Your Music, where like you have like a whole chart of releases that people describe as being essential. And I do think that there's a kind of sense of elitism as well when it comes to all of that. Again, that's a topic that has been discussed. Maybe it's something that I can kind of like give a different perspective of at some point. But I think when you're on certain forums, and you see that like there's these releases that are folk are like, how have you not heard this? There's so much of the act Boris that I've not listened to. And my friends who listen to Boris, they've never been at any point being condescending of that. But when I've seen certain people kind of go like, how have you not, like, I get there's like playful sort of like, oh, how have you not listened to this? Like, I'm sure if like there was somebody kind of in the community just now who went like, oh, I've not heard Death Grips, I'd probably be kind of like, what? Like, that's kind of like, it's kind of like borderline sort of like mainstream in terms of what we listen to. So there's a playful side to it, but there's also people who kind of go, you're a pleb, and now it doesn't like hurt me, but it kind of makes me go like, oh man, I've got just like a laundry list of stuff that needs to be listened to. And the thing is, it's not kind of like a movie where you can kind of watch it once and you get like about I'd say with a movie, when you watch it for the first time, you get pretty much 8 to 9% of what you're possibly going to get. Further revisits are just more of like kind of trying to affirm what you liked or didn't like. Maybe there's some sort of new meanings, but I think with music, there's so many times where like, I think because of how much replay value you can get from music as well, I think it's even more than any other sort of medium. It feels like there isn't such a clear cut like number to apply to how you're gonna actually experience it, and it kind of frustrates me now, like more than ever, because I'm trying to be more serious with my reviewing. I've been reviewing for years and years now, and I think I kind of like, when I say my reviewing, I'm not doing big on reviews anymore, but when it comes to like my roundups, even just giving my general opinions, it's like I kind of just think to myself, like, I'm at a stage where I feel completely comfortable, and that fatigue sets in because it's just sort of just like a complete doubt. So that's maybe like my own psyche playing against me there. But so I think streaming has an effect because of how much material there's to listen to now. I think that's more of a good thing than a bad thing. But I just think the general kind of like the process my brain takes on where it's like, you're never going to get around to all of that. That can be kind of relieving as well, because it's like no one's ever going to listen to everything, so don't get yourself down about it. But it's more like, I've not got a quantity approach, I've got a kind of quality approach. I want to listen to all the essential stuff, but with each passing year there's always more essential stuff to listen to. In a way that's also good, because it's like you're never going to run out of stuff to listen to, but also am I going to get to the age of 40 and I'm still missing out on these like fundamental like highlights, these monuments of certain genres? Like, that worries me a lot. I do think that being involved in certain communities can add to that fatigue as well. None of the communities that I'm in just now have ever made me feel like I'm a dumbass or that for not listening to a certain release. I think most people, I give the benefit of the doubt and say that they, whenever they say to you like, how you not listening to this, they just mean it in a case of, go and listen to it. Like, you're probably gonna like it. Like, you should at least give it the time of day. That being said, though, especially in the PMC Facebook group, there is a lot of just being a absolute shitbag about it, and especially when it's kind of like, just like I say, just a certain sort of elitism that not really doesn't make me feel bad, because I'm gonna like what I like and that's that, but it just make you kind of go, oh man, like, there's all these people that are saying like, there's now this thing I need to go to and that thing I need to go to, and it almost feels like, and this is the biggie for me, where it's sort of just kind of, I'm thinking to myself, does this undermine me as a critic? And to be a critic, you don't have to listen to absolutely everything, but you can almost feel like sometimes that a certain appreciation or a certain understanding, you know, like there's just some great reviewers on here where I'm sort of like, am I ever going to reach that stage? Like, I feel comfortable in front of a camera, I feel comfortable talking right now, and definitely with certain bands I feel comfortable with, but that's because I've listened to them, like, I've probably got like 500 odd scrobbles of them on Last FM, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, how many listens to a certain genre, how many like albums I need to listen to, that am I finally just gonna kind of go, I get it now, like I get the basics of like nearly every genre, but it's more just like having that sort of like kind of like library in your head that can just kind of go like, oh, this that. It can be, I think I'm a solid reviewer and a solid critic. I think I definitely kind of flourish more when it comes to stuff like this, where I can be kind of like that journalism kind of degree actually kind of flourish. But oh man, like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've watched the review and I've been so inspired, but at the same point I've been like, I feel like I've got so much homework to catch up on. I'm very envious of people that have managed to kind of like grow up with stuff like I technically I grew up with radio music because it was around the same time as me, but now that it's like streaming and all that, and there's like stuff like Kingdom Leaks and that, like, you've kind of, if there's something you want to listen to, you can listen to it. There's nothing ever stopping you. So I guess sometimes like that fatigue can come from a place of like blaming myself, which is is a kettle of fish, different kettle of fish entirely. Where I think if you're feeling like in a low mood, fatigue is just kind of amplified yet again. So those are like my personal experiences with listener fatigue. When it's come to trying to overcome it, I have came up with certain ways. Sometimes I try and get myself involved in a different medium entirely. Sometimes I've just kind of thought to myself, you know what, today I'm not feeling it. I'm gonna have a go at some game that I've not played in a while, or a game that I've never played before. I'm gonna watch a movie that I've had on my watch list for ages. I kind of want to jump into like a food analogy here. Kind of like if you're having like pizza all the time, then maybe you want to have pasta. My list of foods are going up dangerously short here. Um, but you kind of get what I mean. Like where like if you kind of like swap one thing out for another, then maybe you'll kind of like you'll come back to the pasta and go like, you know what, or the pizza or whatever you've been having so much of. You can go, I'm back to liking you now. But this kind of like sometimes can set up a vicious circle of you go away from something, you come back and you're just like, oh, I'm back in love with it. But then you're also going, all that time that was wasted there, like, what am I meant to do there? So that's not, I wouldn't really recommend that one. That's just something that I kind of do like on a short term kind of like basis where it's just sort of okay, like more of like a band-aid on something than like an actual like full on like fundamental change. Another thing that I definitely picked up from that deep cuts video that I mentioned before is that, and this one could definitely kind of just like do absolute nothing for you, but if like you want to say there's like an act that you're really into, this happened like back like when I was doing the Biffy Clyro ranked video and I was hitting like a certain kind of like plateau with my musical enjoyment. I just started researching them a bit more because I already knew that I loved them, so I knew it wouldn't be time wasted because that information would, one, come in useful for the video I was doing, but two, would just be kind of like just information that just would kind of appeal to me. And I think that did definitely help break it a little bit. And I think maybe making yourself kind of like more knowledgeable to certain genres that you are familiar with can make you feel like uber confident, like make that kind of like a niche for yourself. But also if you're not so kind of like viable in certain waters, like for me, like with jazz, I'm like I wish I knew more about it, and I've been meaning to for so long, and I've only got around to listening to Mingus and that. So it's I think going around it that way can maybe sort of make you kind of go, you know what, the time that I'm not spending listening to music, I'm at least coming in with like certain tools and that when I actually get around to listening to stuff, I can maybe apply to. So that time, that kind of way, time isn't wasted. You've got something viable. And the other thing that I would recommend, that I'm trying to get back into the swing of now because I really do think that it helped me, but I just didn't really like embrace it full on, was just making a day where if you're wanting to listen to music, and you don't have to like confine yourself to doing just this, but listen to albums that just like you haven't listened to in a little while that you know you love. And God, I remember like it's only been like a month or so where I hadn't listened to Cocoa Sugar, and I put it on and I was just like, the sequence and the production, the sheer energy from this, like it made me get teary eyed because I was like, it's been so long since I felt this way, because I'm just so apprehensive about music some points where I'm like, you know what, like if I'd felt this way, like this fatigue back when this album came out and I'd completely missed out on it, I'd be missing out a chunk of like a fundamental piece of art that's kind of like really defined like a little bit of me. And that just kind of makes me go, you know what, sometimes you just kind of like have to persevere, and you'll reap the benefits of it. Even if you find one album that just makes you kind of feel that same way, just it's just a rush of euphoria. And I guess maybe having like a reminder of just like happier times. It's just like feeling sad. Like when you're feeling sad, if you remember happy stuff, then generally that'll make you feel a little bit happier. And it sounds super like just primary school kind of stuff, like a kid would get it. But I think sometimes we just need that kind of reminder. And to end this on a happy note, this past Friday, Friday the 17th, there was at least 3 records, and I say at least 3 records because I'm still catching up on some stuff, so I want to kind of like future proof this a little bit, but there was at least 3 records where I was like, man, this has got my heart going, this has got me just going like, just big love hearts in my eyes right now, and I'll get around to covering them in the next roundup, but oh my god, it was such a nice feeling to kind of go, you know what, I'm going to take my time. I didn't listen to those three albums I listened to kind of like over the course of like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I took my time with it, and I think taking your time does help. Like, it's just like any fatigue. You don't try and like go and do a marathon like right away. Like, you just sort of just prepare yourself for it. You run when you need to run. You walk when you need to walk. Just take your time. And it's not really something I can give like super helpful advice about, but that's just kind of like how I felt and something that I've wanted to talk about because it's just been something that's bothering me, and I wanted to put it in some sort of form. And I think this is a decent job of explaining like what kind of makes me get into that headspace where it is just an abundance of material to listen to. Being a critic and thinking that I have to reach a certain standard when the definition of being a good critic is just so arbitrary and vague that you just kind of like have to be just kind of just be yourself and always try and improve. Always try and improve. Like, I'm not going to try and say like I'm just going to be kind of like, oh, you know what, the understanding I have now is the understanding I'm always going to have, because even just in this space of like a few months that's not been the case at all. And I do think certain communities can and I just want to like assure you guys like stuff like the Deep Cuts Discord, and there's other Discords that I'm part of that I always mention, but I know Deep Cuts Discord's like the big one that I'm sure lots of you are involved in, so I don't want to make this seem too kind of like wee communities, but like there's like other wee ones that I'm in. Rick the Lie's got his own wee Discord, the one that I've been in for like over a year now, the Instrumental Eismer one. Just like, I've found out so much new stuff, so I would implore people to get involved in these communities, because the chances of you finding some great stuff that you wouldn't know of beforehand, and just kind of like, I do think that sense of connection has helped during those moments of just feeling just kind of like burned out. But I do think communities, especially Facebook ones and Reddit forums, where it's just kind of like either because of how much stuff they're talking about, or the kind of just general approach of, oh, you can't have a real opinion on this because you've not listened to that, and it's kind of like, well, that's going to be 4 listens of this essential record. When I don't get it, like, you kind of make peace of it that you don't get it, but it's more like I've spent all this time on this record, and while it isn't time wasted, you just kind of think to yourself like, how am I going to keep up with all this? And like I say, you're never going to get around to everything, but I can't say that I kind of like make peace with that. I know that that's the case, but it still bums you out, like, more in the sense of like, am I ever going to get around to all the essential stuff? But again, sometimes the essential stuff isn't even all that essential. Look at the Rate Your Music Top 100. Like, I wouldn't even say most of that is all that great compared to most stuff that comes out nowadays. I'm getting better at it, and I'm feeling better, and I'm so excited because I'm heading off to Primavera next week, and just getting to absorb all that music in a different capacity, in a way that I've been to festivals before, but I've never been to one like this where it's just a completely new environment. I think that's going to really reignite me, reinvigorate me, and get me going, and I'm so excited. And I really hope that kind of like will start to reflect when I'm talking about these albums and my roundups. And yeah, I think I've been ranting for about nearly 20 minutes now, so I'm going to cut it off here. But I hope you guys got something out of this. I've definitely benefited from talking away to you guys right now. But let me know what your kind of experiences with listener fatigue are, if you've had any, and if any sort of like kind of process you've had has helped you kind of overcome it. Do you feel like there is certain stuff nowadays? Do you agree with me, like how maybe like the kind of, and again, I think streaming's entirely a pro, but do you think stuff like that kind of does make you feel sort of guilty in a way? I want to have kind of a discussion about it. I want to kind of do more videos like this where I'm just more kind of laid back, not reading off like a laptop in the background or that. I'm surprised I managed to ramble on this much without any notes on me, so I'm going to end this here. But as always, guys, stay safe and stay hydrated, and I'll see you guys very soon.